Welcome to Adobe Live. We're going to do it all. We're going to do it all again. Johanna, let me know if this is all working now. Don't know what happened there. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today. We'd also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Hey, everybody in chat. Great to see you. I just ran through the whole list of everybody watching, so I said your name, but hey, what's up? We'll kick in. We'll just kick into the stream this time. Adrianne, how are you going today?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know if I should answer the same thing, but
Yeah.
no, it's good. We started early today, and it's going to be the first part of our stream this week. We'll be doing some illustration in Adobe Illustrator, and I was thinking of like doing some kind of simple character animation with nothing too fancy, like with the illustration that we have. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today.
That's great. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So the chat that we're using today, if I don't know if this came through before or not, but if you're watching on YouTube or anywhere else, jump over to behance.net/live. If you want to ask questions as we're going through, we're here for a little bit under an hour. And so why don't we just get stuck into it? Because I feel like I've been talking for 10 minutes now because of the tech issues. So nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Should we jump over to your computer and we'll check out the illustration and everything today?
Yeah. So this is something that I've prepared yesterday. Can you still see my camera? But like I was like sketching in my sketchbook. So this is like how I usually start my process. Like it's easier when you have like a scene in mind to make it into like a small thumbnails. And I think I've mentioned it in my streams before, but I like going to paper and just like making like all these scribbly sketches because it's easier for me to look at the illustration rather than as details, but like the bigger picture, like the composition of the character in relation to the background or like the other things. And then what I do is I trace it over in my tablet using, I think like basically all kind of softwares, but obviously if you're using Adobe, like you have Fresco in there, and then I kind of refine that sketch into what we have right here. So it's just easier to work from rather than the rough sketch. I mean, like, I guess you can, but like, it's not as accurate and it just takes more time. You have to eyeball the lines. So this is what I put. There's gonna be some leaf, and I was thinking of like doing some kind of animation on Thursdays. Like you create this wavy hair, and just like as if like it's being blown by the wind, and then like we have some leaf just bending and moving along. So it's really simple and really scenic. And what I do here, like I separate with like a different color so that I just know that this is a different item. It's easier for me. So I put that in different layers, and as usual, you bring it down to 40 or whatever you feel comfortable in. And yeah, I already have like a color palette. If you see my story yesterday, I've spent some time to just explore the different colors. And yeah, so because I'm sure you guys don't want to see me fumbling and just trying like 100 different colors.
Is that your process?
Because
I know we talked about it a little bit before we went live, but I did warn you that color is definitely going to come up, so I'll just ask straight away. So those colors, is that something that you decide before you start sketching? Is it something that you start where do the colors come from, or is it lots of trial and error?
Lots of trial and error. Like when I start sketching and when I kind of like find this, I kind of have an idea. Like I think I want this color, but the color that I have in my head and the color that I end up going with is different. So yeah, it depends though. Like it's nice when you are working in a set of illustration and you have set like a color palette, because like you kind of reuse the same shades and everything. But when you want to try something new, from usually like when I have to find like a new set of palette, it will take me a good hour to 2 hours, to be honest. Like because I get really picky because like some colors just doesn't work, and I forget like in character animation you have like if you're doing just like a static illustration, it's okay to do everything in one go. But in character animation, like some things that you have to think about is which part is going to move. Like obviously, like our head, like usually is not moving together with the neck, so we have to separate that. Like here.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting
And
point.
the
So for
part,
those of you just joining us, like this is you're planning to bring this illustration into Adobe After Effects. So the way that you would build it originally in Illustrator, you'd make different decisions in how you build things. Like you want to animate the hair and the head, so you're putting those on separate layers and drawing those individually. Is that right?
Yep. It's like, and then you have to, there are parts like maybe you think like they're not seen, that it's okay to not make it as nice, but when something moves, like there are things that become seen. So like you have to, again, like it's in the end, like you will learn like which part that you have to make more refined, some part that you can afford to make kind of ugly. Like, I mean, like in a sense, like this is like really bad, but no one is able to see that, so it's fine. It's all about choosing your priorities and choosing your battles,
Right.
in which part to make perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not too of a perfectionist, so I think I'm quite grateful that I'm not a perfectionist, because I think if I'm a perfectionist, I'll take so much time removing things. Yeah.
Nice one. Well, as we're going along as well, just a reminder to feel free to ask questions as we're going along. Let us know as well. Like, what's your approach to color? Because Adrianne and I were chatting about this beforehand, and we're just sort of talking about all the different illustrators and different creatives and what their approach to color is. You know, I was mentioning that some people that we've had on Adobe Live will have kind of set color templates that they use. Other people will go out into their environment and take photos and like color pick. Using Adobe Capture or something similar, or just their camera. Be interested to hear from you guys in chat. Like, what do you guys use for color, and does it change as you're illustrating, and does it end up looking like something completely different?
One thing that I know that I rarely use colors that are neon, like high contrast colors. I tend to look to like nature, and if you look at like my palette here, it's really like something that you'll find in nature. So I really like working with that, because I think for me it's easier to harmonize it. So it's really cool, like when some people can use like really strong colors, but somehow they look harmonized. That's really cool.
Marianne in chat saying, I'm limited to branding guidelines with my color choices for the majority of my work. Yeah, I guess that's like a good and a bad thing, right? Like you might have a brand or a client, and you're often stuck kind of using the same colors. But I guess as a freelancer, you don't really have that problem.
Well, if you're a freelancer, sometimes you can also, you have the different clients' brand color as well. But yeah, in a sense, like limitation is a good thing. Like sometimes it's harder to just start from nothing. It's just get really confusing, because like it feels like swimming in a big ocean. Like you can't really see where, like you can't see anything. And for me personally, I feel like it's quite overwhelming. So limitation is a good start, because it allows you a starting point to explore. I guess that's one of the things that also some people like ask, like how do I find styles? Like how do you find your own style? It's actually one of the things I would say is actually to start with set a limitation. I mean, like there are things like watercolor and things like that. That's the limitation, the medium, because watercolor has their own effect and the way it looks, and that becomes a style, an aesthetic. And I guess with digital art, because there's not really a limit. Like there are even like brushes that looks like watercolor. There are brushes that look like pencil, and it can be overwhelming, I think, sometimes. But starting with a limit is a good way to narrow down the exploration of style.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, very true. Some other people in chat also using seasonal kind of colors. Seems to be quite a hit. So you're just doing like single point lines for this? Like, is this just standard, like, you know, black outlines?
Mm-hmm. So for the first part of the illustration, I usually focus on just getting the basic shapes there. So I don't have to think about, like, I don't think about the color now, just getting the shape as accurate as the sketch. So I just use like a pen tool and with like black outline. It's quite relaxing, and this is the reason why I have to do the sketch beforehand, because like this part allows me to multitask. I am really amazed by people who can just pen tool out of nothingness, like they don't have anything, don't have any reference, and they just pen tool their way. Because yeah, I know like I can't, so I'm just using, like in the past, like when I'm not as technologically advanced, I took a picture of like my sketchbook and then I send them to myself by email. Yeah. And also like here as well, like there are different parts of the hair, like you separate them because when they're gonna be animated, they're gonna be all different parts.
Right.
Although on Thursday, I'm still gonna have to like try this out, but I'm sure like there's gonna be like some shapes that I end up building in After Effects rather than in Illustrator. So because it's easier sometimes to build the shape natively in After Effects rather than in Illustrator.
Right. And what kind of shapes would you do? Like, is it more the simple shapes? Like, what makes you decide what to draw in After Effects rather than here in Illustrator?
I think it's gotta be like stuff like, if you see like the sparkle here, I'm just gonna create one of them for Illustrator because I can just copy and paste them later when I give them effects in After Effects. And other things is like perhaps like single or individual hair strand, something like that perhaps in After Effects where I can just animate them there. Like personally for me, I prefer not to have too many things when I move it to After Effects, so I don't have to arrange too many layers. So I try to minimize what I can bring there and what I can build there. But usually it's just hair strands and, like I mentioned, like sparkles. Like you don't want to have like 10 layers of sparkles in After Effects. It's, I don't know, I don't like it when it's too many layers. But I think it's something that you can't avoid when animating. So I don't know what I'm saying.
I'm sure that's something you've learned as well, like creating so many bits of work, like these little kind of what seems like a little shortcut, like in the long run will save you a lot of time and allow you to work more efficiently, which allows you obviously to create more work or, you know, have a better life balance. Like learning those little things, like a single strand of hair or a couple of like kind of the easier, I guess, more basic animations is something you can build just, you know, into After Effects.
Yeah, like shortcut is like we were just talking about, like there's so many shortcuts that I'm sure I have yet to find. So I need to spend some time because I've been so used in my process that perhaps I have overlooked that there are other ways of doing things.
Yeah, we were talking about that. There's always so much to keep on top of. There's always like, you know, new updates and new announcements coming. And we do get stuck in our ways, I think, and it's hard to kind of dedicate the time to learning all the new stuff. But if you watch Adobe Live, we're often showing the new stuff, so you can check it out. Just plugging the place where we all are.
That's a good opportunity. No, but yeah, like last time I think there was doing the design challenge where last year, like there was the design challenge where you do different practices and try different features in Adobe. Like I learned stuff as well from there. It's good to, like with this video, it helps us discover things that we won't otherwise discover. Like, because if you don't know what it is, like you don't even know, like you can search for that. But this bite-sized videos allows us to kind of discover things that we won't look for.
Yeah, I
I
think
guess
I
that's the
mentioned.
thing when you're missing out on something. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Sorry.
I was going to mention. I know we got a whole bunch of messages from the last stream. Well, not the last stream, but the stream before that we did together. Well, that you did, and I sat here and watched. With you showed the drawer inside very quickly, and that wasn't something that was necessarily planned. Like, it wasn't a video. It wasn't a 55-minute video on, hey, here's how to use the drawer inside tool. But yeah, I saw on your Instagram as well when you were posting about the session. I got contacted by people as well saying, wow, I didn't even know this feature existed. And it's really funny that you can find that from watching someone. Someone will use an obscure, like a tool or maybe something obscure, or talk about a process. And then we'll all say, whoa, hang on a second, how'd you do that? And that was a big one, I think.
I'm glad to contribute something to the community. I'm so sorry, but I forgot. Like, I learned it from something. I'm sure I saw it somewhere, and then I was like, "What's that?" So yeah, it's a great time to be living in an age of information. So yeah, like even like this, like I separate the torso and the skirt. Some people would even like take it further, like by separating the skirt into different parts. But I mean, like that's something quite simple that can be done later. Another thing that I usually do as well, if I use like sparkles in a lot of my illustration, I have like kind of just copy them over. And I guess this is like, at this point, like I'm so used to using Adobe Illustrator. Like I used to do more digital painting. And of course, like the thing with Photoshop is like you have more textures usually, and it's more organic in a sense. But I really like how easily you can transfer your work across in Illustrator. Like you have this asset that you can reuse 100 times, and you can just easily change the colors because it's a vector. I know that I should build like a library here where I can like just create and then like put all the different things. So yeah, like this is for my work. Like I have for like the different brands I use, like, so there's gonna be like brand colors and assets. So it's easier when you work across files, and also this works in like other softwares like InDesign. So you can easily bring across your brand colors and your usual assets and just like reuse them again and again. So yeah, I need to build that library.
Put it on the to-do list.
Yeah, on top of the exploring the software.
So let us know if you guys have any questions as we go, as we're going along. We will jump into After Effects on Thursday. So it's Thursday here in Sydney and in Melbourne. Adrianne's in Melbourne, I'm in Sydney, which is Wednesday afternoon, I think, if you're in the US. So if you want to tune in for that part 2, you can come and check that out so you can see the whole process from start to finish. A question that comes up all the time, Adrianne, again, one we were talking about beforehand. This is obviously a condensed version of your process. So how long would you dedicate to, I guess, doing the illustration part of this process in the real world when there's not a camera in your face, we're not streaming? Yeah, you know, you maybe like just from scratch, like what's kind of the ballpark amount of time that you would spend?
I would say like 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours is realistic. Yeah, I think 3 hours is like a good amount of time. So it's quite like allows you like the trial and error, allows you to have the different. I think like if you have like a set color palette and you have like you know what you need to draw, you can have like 2 hours. So like exploring the colors for me personally, because it's something that I really tend to want to get really like I need to be happy with it. If not, like I can't let it go. So 1 hour is for color exploration, and the rest is actually for the illustration part itself.
Cool.
Yeah, because there's a sketching, and I guess like when I say 3 hours, it assumes everything happens smoothly, because there are types of art blocks where you can be drawing so many hours and you just like can't get anywhere. It happens as well. But definitely not 1 hour. Whatever you see on stream right now, it has been prepared beforehand.
Yeah. So does that mean you have sketchbooks just full of like, you know, sketches that you kind of move on from very quickly? Like, are there just kind of pages and pages of exploration and things like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to like just draw on like whatever scrap paper that there is. Like some letters that you get, not letters from friends, like letter from bills or things like that. And usually like the part behind is empty. And I always feel sad whenever I see like a blank page in like this kind of promotional material and I just draw on them. I want to like try to reuse as much paper as I can.
Nice.
The bad thing is I don't have like a collection of like books, because I ended up like having all my drawing in like random papers.
There was a question on that. Like, speaking of art block, how do you usually handle it?
I think like art blocks can be caused by a few different things, and like in a positive side, like some people mentioned that art block means like your taste, like what you find beautiful, has increased, but then our skill needs to catch up, and that's why we are not happy with what we do. So with that kind of art block, it's a good sign, rather than kind of like beating ourselves. Why does this look so ugly? Because I think we've seen so many beautiful things, and our eyes are so like our taste, like our standard has increased, but then our skill need time to catch up. So in those cases, just relax a bit, take a step back, and then just come back working. And then usually you'll find that the more you practice, like it will be okay. Like you don't always have to be in the mood to create something, which is like another thing. And another art block that you can possibly get is because you are stressed. Like you have to, I don't know, like there's social media. I feel like social media has really changed the way we look at producing content. Like we feel like we have to keep producing things. And as artists, like we can't really produce things if we don't have any input. Like if you, like we draw because we want to express something. Like we draw because we want to, in response of, like you look at beautiful scenery, you look at beautiful colors, it inspires you to draw. Or like something happens, like people draw fan arts, it's like a response to what they watch, what they read. So it's like kind of like remember that you also need time to learn, to enjoy life, to experience things, so that you can output something. So yeah, don't we are not machines. The thing with creative work is that there's a part of it like you can't really force out, I think. And when those times happen, my advice is to stay away from social media, because like you get more stressed, like seeing people like being so productive, and people are like, oh yeah, I'm doing project with this, doing project with that, and then you get like, what am I doing with my life? It gets really stressful, and you feel like I have to create something, but then like you're at a state where you're actually needing rest, or you're at a state where you're actually needing something else, but actually drawing.
Right.
So yeah, it depends on the cost of the art block, but in the end, like take a step back.
Boils down to taking a step back and not spending too much time on social media. I really like that. I really like the idea of you have to, you know, be patient for your skill to catch up, you know, with the quality that you're looking at out there, because of course there's just so much incredible artwork out there. It's easy to be discouraged. Even the best people, like you're fantastically talented and you're on Adobe Live here talking about it. Everybody has that thought throughout their career. So I think it's important for us, especially those just starting out, not to be too discouraged by people that have been, you know, working for, you know, years, if, you know, sometimes even decades, that are putting out phenomenal work that they probably worked on for weeks or months. But we just see it as a tile on Instagram, or it's just a little flash and you just think, oh my God, there was so much depth to that. It's important for us to have perspective. We do have another question from Raphael. Hey, from Brazil. Hello. How is the
Hello.
future of 2D animation? That's the question.
That's interesting. Um, I think interestingly, like 2D animation has a lot of form. Like you find like those 2D animation they are hand drawn, and then you see nowadays that I think is quite a young industry is the motion design. I think if you ask a lot of motion designers, they'll say that motion design is quite a young industry. Like it's been more popular in the past 12, 13 years. It has been really like you see more of them in ads, like you see more of them because we need more digital content. And compared to obviously like 3D takes a lot of like it just takes a lot of computer power. It takes a lot of like usually you need a team to create like something. So motion design, especially like those 2D, even like 3D motion design, like it's more popular because you have like this increased demand in content. And I think especially during now, like with what we're going through with the pandemic, like I know like some people who say that photography and say like live action becomes hard, obviously because you have to manage social distancing and like people can't fly over just like they used to. So become interesting like motion design and digital content. There is an increase in demand because it is able to communicate things more in this context more safely. There is no need for social distancing, and like campaign still needs to go. Content is like companies and brands still need content, so like they go to like motion designs.
Yeah.
So I think like from the motion design perspective, at the very least, I feel like it's actually we are in a time where it's actually really trending. It reminds me to be honest, it reminds me of like when UI UX starts to become like more and more mainstream. I feel like it has like a similar kind of feel at the moment. Like people start going into motion design. Like my course in like I studied in like RMIT, I took animation. There were not a lot of like motion design classes, but now I know from what I've heard, like they have more motion design classes that even cater to things like how do you create content for social media, how do you create content for digital platforms.
Right.
So I think a lot of university is also seeing that this is this is part of going to be really useful for students in the industry. That's talking about like the technical like side, but also I think people still enjoy 2D animation because there's something really personal about it. There's something like really fun and innocent and also whimsical about 2D animation that you perhaps can't really get in other mediums. So like there's always gonna be, personally I think there's always like people think like, oh, with 3D animation like you see a lot of movies are becoming more 3D, but at the same time you see that there's a comeback in traditional way of animating. There's a comeback in appreciating things that like we thought is going to die off, but because like people like nostalgia and also people enjoy, there's a sense of connecting with childlikeness that you find in 2D animation. That I'm not too worried about that for now. So like if some people are like worried that, oh, is 2D animation is going to be something that worth learning, I think it still does. But of course, like applied in the different contexts, like yeah. So it's hopefully that answers the question, but that's what I'm seeing. Like I don't know, Flynn, like what do you think?
Yeah, I mean that was a great answer and a really great question. I'm glad that there was lots to unpack there. But yeah, I think making things move on screen is here to stay in every sense. And it's interesting that you made the relationship with UI and UX. Like user interface design has come so far, and there's so much animation. Like if you look at just any of your smartphones, there's subtle animations that happen now to visualize and replicate physically pressing a button or pulling a lever. Is really fascinating, and there's a lot of behavioral stuff behind it. So whether that's kind of the direction you want to go, like how and why does this feel good, is a whole nother direction that is like the cross section between user interface design, digital product design, and often 2D animation, often sometimes 3D animation as well. So Yeah, if it's something, if the question was around like, is this something I should get into, or is this like somewhere I should dedicate time, I think it crosses a lot of different disciplines. And if we just look at look at any screen you have in front of you right now, there's a lot of animation that will happen whether or not you trigger it yourself or it's just happening in front of your eyes. But yeah, interesting to hear if that answers the question, and if it's something you're interested in getting into, or something like that. Dorina in chat says, I'm one of those people feeling nostalgic about 2D animation. Yep, I think we all do.
Yeah, it's just something, it's quite different. Like I really enjoy 3D animation because I was watching I was watching How to Train Your Dragon like a couple weeks back, and do you like that movie?
Yeah, I do. I love it. Every time I think about it, I always think about the shot for shot, like the cat that they used for all of the animation. I don't know if you've seen that, but they shooting a cat moving around, and then that was exactly how they modeled a lot of the movement for the dragon in that.
Yeah, like with 3D and 2D, even though like different medium, but the principle of like how you animate, it's still applicable across the two. So when you're learning animation, like usually like it's better to learn. Of course, you need to learn the technical side, but understand the principle of things, principle of design, principle of movement. And I think when you learn principles, even though the medium changes, like you can still apply them across the different, like you won't, like your knowledge won't be obsolete, if that makes sense. So that's something that also, like even in stop motion, like the principle is quite similar as well. But yeah, like How to Train Your Dragon is like, I feel really sad, like for just for the second one. But yeah, like the effects looks beautiful and everything, but I can still enjoy other like 2D animation. So it's not just because like certain thing is popular, the other thing cannot be popular as well. Yeah,
that's true. It's a big world, lots of audiences. There's a technical question from Lessa. Can you bend a line in AI? Yeah, so in Illustrator, there's lots of different ways to bend a line. You could use the pen tool to create a curved line. You could draw a straight line and put an anchor point in the middle. Lots of different ways that you can do that. Probably the best app to do, geometrically correct curved lines, and that you can kind of finesse to a very close point. So if you're just starting, it's definitely apt to try that sort of thing. There's another question from Ruth. Adrianne, there's a video on your Instagram where you're directly using a brush on an illustration like this. Are you using a mouse here, or do you use a Wacom or like any sort of tablet at all?
Like for today, I use like a mouse. I think like for that one, I use Wacom. I was like trying out. I do find that for if I'm drawing static, like because I'm like kind of like preparing more for animation, so I'm not too, because like it's gonna be like the wave is gonna be animating. But I do like when I have like more texture and more flowy movement to use like my Wacom, because it's easier to replicate that. So I use the pencil tool usually in, I know the like N, like if you press N, the shortcut, like that's a pencil tool. And like if you use a brush, like you can just easily create like the really nice curve. But in my case, like the hair is gonna be like animating in After Effects, so I'm not too precise about like how the curve will look like at the moment. But the good thing with, I guess like also like another plus with like having the sketch and then like I transfer it to Adobe Illustrator is like I can just follow the curve using my mouse, since I already freehand that on my sketchbook, if that makes sense.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's a great tool, but it's not necessary in a sense.
Yeah, I think
if you want to start.
Yeah, I think that's really good, like for those starting out. Yeah, like there are so many tools out there. So what do you use for what process? And I think you explained it really well just then. Because you're trying to get these exact like geometric shapes. It's going to go into After Effects to do some animation. You've already drawn, so you've done the exploratory kind of natural feeling of how it should draw in the sketch. you're essentially going over the top of this and trying to be as accurate as possible, and the mouse is great. Mouse is great for that. But if you were drawing straight into the app, the pencil tool and a Wacom is something that would probably be the most appropriate for that. So I think that's interesting for you guys to take away if there are people that are just getting into this sort of thing or wondering about the different tools and different styles, because there's lots of different approaches to illustration out there.
And there's another thing that I've kind of like forget, but actually, if I'm not wrong, gradient in Illustrator, no, I think gradient works in Illustrator, but like what doesn't work is layer style. So if you have like multiply, overlay, like you have to apply that style, the layer style, in After Effects. So if you want to create some kind of effects with multiply, making the color more darker, it's like making the color darker, you have to do it in After Effects, because for instance, like for this, I'll just do whatever. This is like something that I've learned from someone else as well, and put overlay. Like there's like this is kind of nice. If you like this kind of like, say you want to make something shiny and you like that effect, like if you see like I use like a black and white gradient, and then I turn the opacity here to overlay and then put the opacity to 50%. Like this is what it looks in Illustrator, but in After Effects it's just gonna turn into like another black and white block. So I'm like last time if I remember, like it doesn't work, so just be mindful of that. There are some things that you have to apply there. And also like for this leaf here, what I'm doing here is like I'm going to bend it in After Effects, and before I color the leaf, I'm just gonna like, I just need this set like left and right, and then I'm gonna color the leaf, and then I'm just gonna like copy and paste everything when I get there.
So you're going to do that in After Effects rather than in Illustrator?
Like the bending, but like when I'm coloring, like I'm gonna do it later when I have fill in the leaf. I don't want to fill in like 10 leaf at once, so yeah. I'm a bit cool. a bit lazy.
Yes, there's a question. Can you copy shape and paste it in After Effects?
Copy shapes and...
Yeah, can you copy and paste in After Effects? Yeah, you can.
Oh, like in After Effects, yeah, but not across the different softwares. Because I know like you can copy a shape in Illustrator and literally paste it in, say, Adobe XD or Adobe InDesign, which I use a lot sometimes. But yeah, you can. And another thing that I usually do is like, which I'll show again on Thursday, is to turn the shapes into outline. So turning it into a native vector shapes in After Effects. So I'll show that next time.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get stuck into that in like a little bit more detail. So if you're interested in some of those questions, like how you save the file in Illustrator, I'm not sure if we're going to get to that today, which is totally fine. We'll cover that on Thursday. So we've got about 15 minutes left, Adrianne, so just let you know. Okay. It goes fast, doesn't it? So yeah, we'll be covering that in more detail. Like kind of, there's a couple of technical steps that you just want to make sure you have right, like how you save and how you import everything. We'll definitely be covering that. There is a question about that, but we'll answer it now. So Kendall asks, surprised I don't spot the plugin, the Overlord icon. Do you use plugins ever to move from Illustrator to After Effects?
Oh, I didn't know there is a plugin. What's it called again?
Overlord.
Oh wow.
I think we've had some people on stream use Overlord before. But yeah, there we go. So
do you know what does that do?
No, I don't want to talk. I've seen it used a bunch of times, but I don't use it. So we'll check it out between now and the next one. We've definitely had some people use it. I'm trying to remember who used it and what for, but we've had yeah, people use it before on the stream. Checking out chat. If there are any more questions, we got, yeah, a little bit under 10, like a little bit over 10 minutes left. So get those questions in. Just going back through chat to see if I've missed anything. Ruth was asking, do we get to see the After Effects process? Yes, I've probably mentioned it too many times now, but yeah, so we're going to see that on Thursday or Wednesday if you're in the States. I can't remember where you are, but yeah. Someone mentioned before, not lazy, but efficient. Yeah, exactly. We're trying to be, I think efficiency is the goal of all this sort of thing. Whatever you're creating, have a goal in mind. Have, you know, if possible, have a set amount of time that you can dedicate to something so there's a beginning and an end. And you get something out of your computer and publish somewhere. I think that's the biggest step for so many of us. So many people have a bit of a play around, but don't kind of do that last 10% and end up with just all these files on your hard drive or in your Creative Cloud or something. I think getting things out is key.
And yeah, I was just talking to Flynn, like how I was listening to this, like another artist was talking about not being afraid of making ugly things.
Right.
Like when you learn, like it's normal for things to not look as pretty as you would like it to be, but it's okay. I need that reminder as well. Like I feel like I have to always make things that work, but in the end, like that inhibits our desire to learn, because like part of like learning and playing is like making things that doesn't even make sense. But like in that exploration, like you find things, you press random feature, press random tools, and then, oh, like I didn't know it can do this. Like you may not know it, you may not even like use it at that point, but like one day when you like, oh, I need to create this kind of effects, and then you remember like, oh, I think there's a tool that can do that. So yeah, like have fun. A lot of artists are really stressed. That's what I get sometimes when I talk to artists.
So you watched something, like a, maybe you could tell us a little bit about it over the weekend, because it sounded super interesting to me. Like other artists and illustrators, I think it was from like an Indonesian based, like kind of much, you told me it was very casual, but like, you know, it reminds me of a conference where there's like kind of a speaker and they're talking, there's a break. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because you had some takeaways.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the initiative started during the lockdown, where they create like webinars, and then they invite like people to come on board and like just talk about their experience. So this time they create like an illustration like for a couple days, 2 days, and it was really casual, like this 1 hour break in between all the session. But they were just talking about things like working. I didn't get to see all the session because it was 4 hours difference, but there were like things that talk about starting like to become like an illustrator, like what, like if you're a self-learning illustrator, like how do you build your career, like how do you price your work, and like people just sharing like how they started when they were like, some of them like editorial illustrators. So it was quite a good mix of different illustrators. Like some of them are storybook, editorial, some of them create their own merch, some of them like work like they're Indonesian but they're based in Austria, so similar but they're all like Indonesian origin. But there's one of them who are Malaysians. She's a writer who works collaboratively with an illustrator, and they were like talking about like how like a writer and illustrator combination, like what does that look like. Some of them like they're not really like technical, like, oh, like how to price your stuff, like this is your price, like there's nothing like that, because every artist and every project is different. But they were like talking about principles and just like sharing like the common thread. And I think, yeah, like the pro and cons of freelancing. So it was like it was a nice session. Like you don't feel like you are like, if you're stressed about invoicing or like stressed about setting your price, like apparently everyone goes through similar problem.
Yeah. There's something very comforting in
so
that,
was fun.
Isn't it? Like knowing that there's lots of people with the same concerns and the same kind of challenges, out there, I guess, as a freelancer. I'm sure a lot of people out there as well, like particularly now, like working from home, maybe running their own business or freelancing by themselves or just getting started or something like that. Yeah, but I think the same problems come up all the time, like same sort of concerns and things like that. So it's nice to have like a community and hear people talk about it. So you realize, oh, it's okay. It's very normal to be concerned about these things.
Yeah, and like all these people, like they're really some of them have been in the industry for years, and I think like one of the things that they say is just to be to enjoy the process, and to, I think most of like one of the more like reflective part is like just to be aware and be honest with yourself, like regarding where we are at, rather than comparing ourselves to other people, which is not really like helpful at times. So it's understanding your own like where you need to improve, where you need to learn. It's a kind of good wake up call. Yeah. Sometimes you need to hear it.
Yeah, we all do.
Because we want shortcuts, like we want like, oh, I want to make really nice things straight away, but like it's not, unfortunately, like it's not as simple as that. Like you have to study the boring stuff sometimes as well.
Yep. Absolutely. There's quite a few people in chat just chatting about different like online courses to learn motion design, like 2D design and things like that, like from free to paid. Is there anywhere, you must get this question quite a lot, is there anywhere particular that you will tell people to go to learn, other than Adobe Live, of course, to learn like specifically like 2D, like more course-based, like step-by-step guide, maybe something online? Is there anything that you know out there that you normally recommend people check out?
I think I mentioned it, like Ben. He's in the stream before, right? Like Ben Marriott.
Ben Marriott, yep, good friend of the show.
Yeah. He does like a lot of a breakdown and just even like some folio review for some people. So I think that's a good resources to watch. But I know like there's like a few online courses that are. Am I allowed to to like say names? But
yeah, you can plug the courses because we want to find them. So yeah, we can totally do that.
Yeah. I know like School of Motions and motion design classes. I know like Ben had one of his classes in like motion design, motion design school, and he was like talking about like hand-drawn animation. And then there's School of Motion where you have like the beginner level, like advanced level. So depending on where you are at and how familiar you are with the courses, like they have courses for you. And then inside, I know like I have a friend of mine who went through the courses, and you really have like an intake, you have class time, and then there's an assistant that is going to be checking your homework. So, and I heard like from her, like she's really happy with experience there. I haven't had a chance like because of time, but it's definitely something that I would like to check out as well.
Cool. Yeah, there's a great.
Because I know like for some people, yeah, sorry.
No, you go on.
Oh, no, because I know like some people, like perhaps they were already studying something else, or they are perhaps wanting to start to learn motion design or animation after they finish uni, or after they, like going back to uni perhaps is not an option. Like it's definitely like a good online courses to take. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. And I was just going to mention that Johanna is sharing some links in chat. So if that's something that you want to check out, I mean, Ben Marriott's YouTube channel is also free as well. So if you guys are just after free stuff, you want to take a look. Ben Marriott is a good friend of the show. He's done a lot of Adobe Lives with us, and his YouTube channel, yeah, is crazy popular and very educational. I haven't seen the portfolio reviews. Do you think the portfolio reviews are really helpful?
I think I've only, hopefully like I remember correctly, but yeah, I've seen that because it helps. Sometimes it shows like how you should be curating your show reel and how you should be like, because show reel is pretty much the 30 seconds of how an animator can present themselves. So like there's a strategy to these things. Like you don't just, it's not like you don't put everything there. Like how do you pace pace your animation? How do you place your work strategically? I think like similar to design, like they have the rules, like you put your best work first, you put your second best work, or like a strong work at the end, because you don't want to, like, you want the person who look at your folio to have a first good impression, and when they were about to close or conclude your folio, they also have like a good impression. Like you don't want to put your worst work in a sense, or your not your weakest work at the end. Although I would even argue, like, don't put something that you're not happy with in your folio at all, because you don't want them to have, because that's all that they can judge you from.
Right.
So yeah, but that's how it is. And yeah. And by the way, if anyone, like, I really like, when I first learned Illustrator, one of the things that I really like using is actually the warp effect. Like there is like this flower is actually like a circle, and then I just add like a distorting effect to make it look not boring. So wrap it and then like wave, and then just adjust the thing so it looks irregular. And when I first learned Illustrator, like, I hated the pen tool because it was so hard, and I relied on this shape effect
Nice.
feature.
So we're actually pretty much out of time. We've only got about a minute left, so maybe we'll just look at the work. I know it goes so fast, doesn't it? But there's some great questions in there today, everybody. So thank you for joining us in chat. Thank you for answering all the questions as well. I think there were some really interesting answers in there. Some resources out there for you guys. And yeah, come back. 48 hours is the best way to say it. It's going to be Thursday morning here in Sydney, Australia, and Melbourne, which is where Adrianne is. And if you're in the US, it'll be Wednesday, so similar sort of time to now. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us in chat, and thank you so much, Adrianne. You're still like working away trying to get as much done as you possibly can. That's so great.
Right,
just like
I
head
should
down,
be
like,
stopping.
trying to get as much done. But yeah, we are out of time, unfortunately. It looks amazing, of course. We've jumped around, but yeah, like watching you create this is incredible. I love the pleats on the dress, using the background color to have everything come through. I wanted to mention that as you were going, but we're having a great chat while we're going through. But we'll marvel at this next week. We'll jump into After Effects, make some stuff move, and yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks, Flynn.
We'll see you on Thursday. See you next week. Bye, everyone.